The Galactic Council had one law that every civilization obeyed without question. If an entire star system was marked with a black seal, no ship entered it. Not military fleets, not scientific expeditions, not rescue teams, not even the Council itself. Because every black seal system had one thing in common: nothing that entered ever returned. For nearly 3 million years, there had only been 12 black seal systems in the entire galaxy. Then, without warning, a 13th appeared. Its name was Earth. The announcement spread across thousands of civilizations within hours. Trade routes were rerouted. Navigation databases updated automatically. Entire sectors changed course to avoid a single yellow star that, until yesterday, had been considered harmless. Nobody outside the Council knew why. Only that Earth had officially been abandoned. The decision shocked the galaxy. Humanity was still one of the youngest spacefaring species. They weren't the strongest. They weren't the richest. They certainly weren't the most advanced. But humans had earned a reputation that even ancient civilizations respected. Where others calculated risks, humans chased possibilities. Where others waited for permission, humans explored. Their curiosity had opened trade routes that no one else dared to map. They had rescued colonies written off as lost. More than once, humanity had solved problems simply because they refused to believe the impossible was actually impossible. Many species found humans reckless. Some even found them irritating. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: if humanity disappeared, the galaxy would become a quieter place. Then, exactly 11 days after Earth received the Black Seal, every communication network across the Galactic Council detected the same transmission. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't distorted. It wasn't ancient. It had been sent only seconds earlier. The message contained just 6 words: "We're still here, please come home." The entire galaxy froze. That was impossible. Every long-range sensor aimed toward Earth's system. Nothing. No ships. No stations. No radio traffic. No energy signatures according to every instrument ever built. Earth was empty, yet the message had arrived. The Council immediately declared it a phantom transmission, a leftover echo, a sensor malfunction, anything except what it appeared to be. But then it came again, exactly 60 seconds later, word for word: "We're still here, please come home." This time, something else appeared with the message: coordinates, not to Earth, to a location hidden behind the moon. A place where every Council map insisted there was absolutely nothing. Inside the Council chamber, representatives from hundreds of civilizations watched the transmission replay over and over. Nobody spoke. Finally, the oldest member of the Council stood. High Chancellor Vorex had governed interstellar affairs for nearly 12,000 years. He had witnessed supernovae consume civilizations. He had negotiated peace between species that had fought for millions of years. He had never once shown fear, until now. He looked toward the floating image of Earth's solar system, then quietly said, "Erase the transmission." The chamber remained silent. One representative finally spoke. "But Chancellor, what if survivors are still alive?" Vorex closed his eyes. "There are no survivors," another delegate objected. "The message is clearly authentic." "No," his voice became firmer. "The message is exactly why no one must answer." Confusion spread through the chamber. One of the younger ambassadors leaned forward. "If someone is asking for help, why refuse them?" The Chancellor slowly looked around the room. His expression carried something few had ever seen: regret. Because that is how every Black Seal begins. The room fell completely silent. Nobody had ever heard the Chancellor speak about Black Seal systems. They were older than recorded history, older than the Council itself. Nobody knew how they were created. Nobody knew what happened inside them. The only surviving records contained a single sentence: "If you hear a voice asking to be found, it already found you." No explanation, no author. No date, only the warning. The Council voted within minutes. The transmission would be erased from every public archive. Every ship that received it would be ordered to delete it immediately. The galaxy would pretend the message had never existed. The meeting ended. The representatives left. The stars continued turning. Everything should have returned to normal. But someone had already copied the transmission. A single human exploration vessel, the CSV Horizon, had intercepted the signal before the Council erased it. Captain Adrian Cale listened to the recording in complete silence. He replayed it once. Then again, something felt wrong, not frightening, familiar. He enlarged the waveform. Most officers searched for hidden codes. Adrian searched for rhythm. After several minutes, he noticed something nobody else had. The pauses between the words weren't random. They followed a mathematical sequence. A sequence taught only to human deep space navigators. A sequence used for one purpose: to identify a message that had been sent under extreme duress. Hidden inside the transmission was a second message, one the Council had completely missed. Adrian decoded it. His face lost all color. The bridge officer looked toward him. "Captain?" He didn't answer immediately. He simply stared at the translation appearing across his screen. The original message had said, "We're still here. Please come home." But the hidden message read, "Do not answer us." Silence filled the bridge. One sentence begged for rescue. The other warned everyone to stay away. Someone, or something, had forced the sender to ask for help while secretly trying to prevent anyone from coming. Captain Adrian slowly looked through the bridge window toward the distant Sol system. Then another transmission arrived. This one wasn't meant for the galaxy. It was addressed to one ship, one captain, one name. "Adrian." The voice was calm, weak, almost relieved. "You finally heard me." Adrian stopped breathing. He knew that voice. It belonged to his younger sister, Commander Alina Cale. She had died on Earth 11 days earlier. No one spoke for several seconds. The recording had ended, but the bridge remained frozen. Captain Adrian Cale continued staring at the waveform as though it might suddenly reveal another hidden message. His sister's voice was unmistakable. Every inflection, every pause, every breath belonged to Alina. He had grown up hearing that voice. He had heard it over military channels during joint missions. And 11 days ago, he had listened to the official confirmation of her death. There was no possibility of a mistake. Yet somehow, she had just spoken to him. The communications officer finally broke the silence. "Captain, should I report this to the Galactic Council?" Adrian answered without hesitation. "No," the officer looked surprised. "They'll ask why we altered course. They'll know soon enough." Without another word, Adrian turned toward the navigation display. "Set course for Sol." The bridge fell silent. Nobody moved. Every officer understood what that command meant. Crossing into a Black Seal system wasn't simply illegal. It was considered permanent. The Council didn't send rescue missions because history had proven one terrifying fact. Every ship that crossed a Black Seal boundary disappeared forever. There were no survivors, no distress calls, no wreckage, only silence. The navigator looked directly at Adrian. "If we enter the system, the Council will erase us from active records. I know. We'll never receive reinforcements. I know. They won't even come looking." Adrian nodded slowly. "I know." No one argued again. Not because they agreed. Because every person on the bridge had already made the same decision. If humanity still existed somewhere inside that darkness, they weren't leaving them behind. The CSV Horizon accelerated toward the Forbidden System. Hours later, the familiar blue glow of hyperspace vanished. Earth's sun appeared ahead. At first glance, everything looked normal. Mercury continued its endless orbit. Venus reflected sunlight like polished gold. Mars rotated peacefully in the distance. Even Earth appeared untouched. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents, exactly as it should. The youngest officer on the bridge sighed with relief. The Council made a mistake. Nobody answered. Because every instrument aboard the Horizon was telling a completely different story. The life scanners showed 0. The thermal scanners showed zero. No satellites, no orbital stations, no civilian traffic, no military patrols, no radio broadcasts, no weather satellites, no aircraft, nothing. Earth looked alive. Every sensor insisted it had been dead for 11 days. Dr. Lyra Chen, the ship's chief scientist, enlarged the orbital scans. Her expression hardened. "Captain," Adrian stepped beside her. "What did you find?" She projected thousands of tiny markers surrounding the planet. At first they resembled stars. Then the image sharpened. Ships, hundreds of them, alien cruisers, council destroyers, civilian transports, research vessels. Everyone motionless, everyone perfectly intact. The bridge grew quiet. "Are they abandoned?" Dr. Chen slowly shook her head. "No," she zoomed further. Life signs appeared, thousands, millions. Every ship still contained living crews. They weren't dead. They weren't moving either. Medical scans reported normal heartbeats, normal brain activity, normal breathing. But not a single person had moved in 11 days. It was as if time itself had frozen aboard every vessel. Adrian stared at the impossible image. "Open a channel." Silence, no response. He tried another frequency. Nothing. Emergency channels, military frequencies, civilian broadcasts, still nothing. The frozen fleet simply drifted around Earth like statues trapped in orbit. The communications officer frowned. "They're receiving our transmissions." "How do you know?" "Because their systems are automatically acknowledging them." "So why isn't anyone answering?" No one had an explanation. Then a small transport ship suddenly activated. Every eye snapped toward the display. Its engines ignited. Slowly, it rotated toward the horizon. Relief swept across the bridge. Finally, someone was alive. The transport accelerated gently until it stopped less than 2 kilometers away. Adrian smiled for the first time since entering the system. Open visual communication. The screen connected instantly. A human pilot appeared. He was smiling, completely calm. "Thank God," the man whispered. "You came." Adrian leaned forward. "I'm Captain Adrian Kale. What happened here?" The pilot continued smiling. His eyes never blinked. "Something surrounding Earth wouldn't let us leave." The bridge fell silent. "What planet?" The smile grew slightly wider. "Earth." Adrian exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Chen. "This isn't funny. I'm not joking." The pilot slowly looked toward the blue world beneath him. Whatever surrounded Earth didn't let anyone leave. Every officer felt a chill. The pilot continued speaking in the same peaceful tone. "We all tried to leave." He nodded gently. "None of us could." Adrian's voice hardened. "What do you mean you couldn't?" The pilot pointed toward open space. "Watch." Without warning, his engines ignited at full power. The transport surged away from Earth. 100 kilometers, 200, 500, 1,000, then it stopped. Not because the engines failed, not because of gravity, space itself bent. The ship stretched like a reflection in disturbed water for a fraction of a second. It existed in 2 places at once. Then it was back where it had started. Exactly 2 kilometers in front of the horizon. The pilot smiled again. "We've all tried." He leaned closer to the camera. "No one leaves." A cold silence settled across the bridge. Dr. Chen checked every sensor. There was no warp field, no tractor beam, no gravitational anomaly. She looked at Adrian. The ship simply returned, as if the universe itself had rejected the idea of leaving Earth before Adrian could respond. His proximity alarms erupted. Not one, not 10, hundreds. Every frozen vessel around Earth had activated at exactly the same moment. Engines powered on. Navigation lights illuminated. Thousands of silent ships slowly turned toward the CSV horizon, not attacking, not fleeing, waiting. Then every communication speaker aboard Adrian's ship came alive simultaneously. Thousands of voices, human, alien, young, old, male, female, all speaking in perfect unison. "Please." A pause echoed through the bridge. Then came the words that made every crew member's blood run cold. "Don't make the same mistake we did." For several long seconds, no one aboard the CSV Horizon moved. Thousands of ships surrounded Earth. Thousands of voices had spoken as one, yet not a single weapon was aimed at them. Captain Adrian Cale looked toward the tactical display. "Status." The tactical officer answered almost immediately. "Every vessel has powered its engines." He hesitated. "But none are locking onto us. So why are they moving?" "There," he frowned. "They're forming something." The holographic map expanded. One by one, the frozen ships repositioned themselves around Earth. Council cruisers, human battleships, mining transports, medical frigates, private yachts, even tiny civilian shuttles. None of the movement appeared random. As the final ship reached its position, the bridge lights dimmed. Dr. Lyra Chen stared at the completed formation. Her breathing stopped. "It isn't a defensive formation." Adrian looked closer. "What is it?" She enlarged the image. Every ship formed part of an enormous symbol, stretching nearly 100,000 kilometers across space. No civilization on the Council recognized it. No military database contained it. Yet something about it felt strangely familiar. Then Adrian realized why. It resembled a human fingerprint. Not exactly. Close enough to make everyone uncomfortable. Before anyone could investigate further, every screen aboard the Horizon went black. The ship had not lost power. Its systems were still functioning. Something else had simply taken control of every display. A sentence slowly appeared. "Welcome back." No one typed it. No one transmitted it. Then another line appeared beneath it. "You left before the story ended." Adrian's heart skipped. He stepped toward the console. "Identify yourself." No answer. Instead, the words disappeared. A video began playing. The recording showed Earth exactly 11 days earlier. Cities were alive. Traffic filled the streets. Orbital stations surrounded the planet. Everything looked completely normal. The timestamp confirmed it. This was the day before the Black Seal. Dr. Chen whispered, "It's security footage." Then something impossible happened. At precisely 14:07 UTC, every human being on the screen stopped moving, not gradually. Instantly, millions of people froze in the middle of whatever they were doing. Drivers stopped turning steering wheels. Children froze while running. Aircraft continued flying without pilots touching the controls. Doctors stood motionless beside patients. No panic, no screams, no explosions, just stillness. Exactly 6 seconds later, every frozen person slowly turned their head toward the sky, toward the same point above Earth, as though they were all looking at something hanging in orbit. The camera zoomed automatically. Nothing appeared there, only empty space. Then every human smiled, the same smile, the same peaceful expression, billions of people smiling at exactly the same moment. The bridge fell silent. The recording continued. Without speaking to each other, without receiving any visible signal, every human calmly walked toward the nearest doorway. Some entered cars, some boarded trains, others walked on foot. No one ran, no one resisted. Families remained together. Children held their parents' hands. The entire planet moved with perfect synchronization. Their destination became obvious. Every road, every railway, every shuttle led toward one place. The old launch complexes, spaceports, orbital elevators. Within 3 hours, more than 20 billion humans had left Earth's surface, not fleeing, following. The recording ended. Silence filled the bridge. Adrian looked toward Dr. Chen. "Where did they go?" She slowly shook her head. "I don't know," the communications officer interrupted. "Captain, I found something." "What is it?" "The orbital fleet." He enlarged one of the frozen council cruisers. Life signs still showed thousands of living crew members. But another reading had appeared: brain activity. Every person aboard the ship displayed identical neural patterns. Every single one. Human, alien, officer, civilian, exactly the same. Dr. Chen frowned. "That's impossible." She compared the readings, then compared another ship, and another, and another. The result never changed. Every conscious mind orbiting Earth was thinking the same thought. Adrian felt a chill. "Can you decode it?" She connected the medical scanner to the ship's quantum translator. After several seconds, a single sentence emerged, not spoken, thought, repeated endlessly by millions of minds. "We are waiting for the last one." The bridge grew cold. "The last one," Adrian whispered. "Who?" Before anyone answered, the proximity alarm screamed again. Not around Earth, inside the horizon. The security officer's face turned pale. "Captain, there are people moving on Deck 7, Adrian frowned. "That's impossible. Deck 7 has been sealed since we left Council space. It stores the cryogenic archive." The officer nodded slowly. "I know." His voice barely remained steady. "That's why I'm calling." The bridge fell completely silent. Nobody is supposed to be alive down there. The security cameras switched onto the main screen. The corridor lights flickered softly. Everything appeared normal. Then, a shadow crossed the hallway, slow, human. A woman stepped into view. She wore an Earth Exploration Fleet uniform. Her face was calm. She looked directly into the camera and smiled. Captain Adrian's blood ran cold. It wasn't because he recognized the woman. It was because every crew member on the bridge recognized her. Commander Alina Kale, his sister. The woman whose funeral had been held 11 days ago. She looked into the camera as though she knew they were watching. Then she spoke, not through the ship's speakers, not over a communication channel, directly into the security camera. "Adrian," she smiled gently. "You finally came." A pause. Then her expression changed completely. The smile vanished. Fear replaced it for just 1 second, long enough to whisper 6 words. "Don't let Earth know you're here." The camera feed exploded into static. At that exact moment, every ship orbiting Earth began accelerating toward the CSV horizon. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Red warning lights flooded every console as hundreds of vessels accelerated toward the CSV horizon. Yet something was wrong, very wrong. They weren't charging at combat speed. They weren't locking weapons. They were fleeing. Captain Adrian Kale zoomed in on the approaching fleet. Council destroyers, human carriers, medical ships, freighters, private transports. Thousands of vessels raced directly toward the horizon, with every engine operating far beyond safe limits. The tactical officer frowned. "They're not attacking." Adrian looked up. "Then why are they coming?" No one answered. The answer arrived 10 seconds later. The stars behind Earth began disappearing. Not one constellation, not one sector. Entire regions of space simply ceased to exist. The blackness wasn't expanding. Reality itself was shrinking. It looked as though someone had taken a brush of absolute darkness and erased pieces of the universe. The fleeing fleet wasn't chasing the horizon. It was escaping whatever was behind them. Then every transmission channel activated simultaneously. This time the voices were no longer synchronized. Panic had replaced the unnatural calm. "Run. Don't let it see you. Turn off every transmitter. It's listening. It's already here." Then, silence. Every transmission stopped at once. Not because the speakers were disconnected. Because the people speaking had vanished in the middle of their sentences. The ships continued flying, empty. Adrian watched in disbelief as thousands of vessels drifted silently through space. Entire crews, gone. No explosions, no bodies. Simply gone. Dr. Larachen's scanner suddenly detected something impossible. "Captain," she enlarged the medical readings. "The life signs didn't stop." Adrian looked closer. "What do you mean?" "They didn't die." She stared at the display, unable to believe it herself. "They no longer exist in our universe." The bridge became perfectly silent. Then the ship's quantum computer produced an alert no human had ever programmed. "Object observed." The tactical officer frowned. "Observed by what?" Another message appeared. "Do not observe the observer." Before anyone could react, every window aboard the horizon instantly turned opaque. Emergency shutters had deployed automatically. Nobody had given the command. The ship itself had decided the crew should no longer look outside. What just happened? The navigation computer answered before anyone else could. Its normally calm synthetic voice sounded afraid. External visual access disabled. Adrian stared at the ceiling. Computer, no response. Why did you close the shutters? A pause, then, because something looked back. No one moved. Artificial intelligences did not experience fear. They didn't improvise safety protocols. They followed programming. Yet somehow, the ship had hidden its own crew. Dr. Chen manually reopened one external camera, static. She switched to another, nothing. Then the third camera activated. For only a fraction of a second, the bridge saw an eye. Not attached to a face, not attached to a creature. Simply an eye, larger than planets, floating between galaxies. Its surface wasn't biological. It looked like an entire spiral galaxy folded into the shape of an iris. Before anyone could fully process what they were seeing, the camera burned out. Every remaining external sensor failed simultaneously. The bridge fell into darkness. The ship had become blind. Then, Commander Alina Kale's face appeared again. Not on the security camera. On every monitor aboard the ship. This time she wasn't smiling. She looked exhausted, as though she hadn't slept in years or centuries. Adrian, her voice cracked. You have exactly 3 minutes. He stepped closer. Alina, where are you? I'm everywhere. What does that mean? It already copied me. The bridge exchanged confused looks. Copied you, she nodded slowly. It copies minds. It doesn't kill civilizations. It studies them. It learns them. It becomes them. A cold silence spread across the bridge. Adrian asked the question no one else dared. What is it? Alina closed her eyes. When the first civilization found it, they thought it was alive. When the second civilization found it, they mistakenly worshipped it as a god. The third called it the end of history. She looked directly into Adrian's eyes. They were all wrong. Another pause. It isn't alive. It isn't intelligent. It isn't evil. The bridge waited. Then she whispered the sentence that shattered everything. No civilization has ever understood who built this machine or why it was left behind. Nobody understood. Alina continued before anyone could interrupt. Every conscious mind leaves information behind. Every memory, every thought, every discovery, for billions of years. This machine has been collecting all of it for billions of years. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. No, Alina nodded. Yes, the Black Seal systems aren't prisons. They're archives created by an ancient machine whose builders have long been forgotten. Every assumption collapsed. Earth had never been quarantined because of an alien invasion, not because of a weapon, not because of a plague. Every Black Seal system marked a place where the machine had begun recording an entire civilization. Adrian struggled to breathe. The Council. They knew, Alina nodded. They've always known. They just never understood why. Then another transmission suddenly interrupted her, not from Earth, not from the mysterious force, from the Galactic Council itself. High Chancellor Vorex appeared on the screen. His face was filled with despair. He wasn't speaking from the council chamber. He was aboard a damaged flagship surrounded by burning stars. His voice was barely audible. Captain Kale, Adrian looked at him. Chancellor, Vorex lowered his head. I'm sorry. For what? The old leader closed his eyes. For lying to every civilization. For 3 million years. The bridge froze. Vorex looked directly into the camera, then admitted the truth that no member of the Galactic Council had ever been allowed to know. There aren't 13 Black Seal systems. He took a slow breath. There is only one, Adrian frowned. What are you talking about? The Chancellor answered with tears in his eyes. He pointed toward the stars, toward the galaxy itself. The entire Milky Way. A long silence followed. Then he whispered, "Is the prison." The transmission ended, and at that exact moment, every star in the galaxy went dark. Darkness consumed the galaxy, not gradually, instantly. One heartbeat, the Milky Way stretched across the heavens in billions of shimmering stars. The next, nothing remained. The bridge of the CSV horizon fell completely silent. Outside the reinforced observation window, there was no light, no planets, no distant suns, not even Earth, only an endless ocean of black. Captain Adrian Cale slowly turned toward the navigation officer. "Status." The officer didn't answer. His hands trembled over the controls. Finally, he whispered, "We're still receiving gravity." Adrian frowned. "What? The stars haven't disappeared." He looked up. "We just can't see them anymore." Every display aboard the horizon suddenly rebooted, one by one, without command. A single message appeared across every screen. Observation complete. Nobody touched a console, nobody breathed. Then another sentence slowly formed beneath it, beginning evaluation. Dr. Lyra Chen felt her heartbeat quicken. "It isn't attacking us." She looked around the bridge. "It's examining us." Captain Adrian remembered Alina's words. "It copies minds. It studies civilizations. It remembers them." A terrifying realization struck him. "The Black Seal." He looked toward Dr. Chen. "It doesn't mean quarantine." She nodded slowly. "It means under examination." At that exact moment, every member of the crew heard a voice, not through speakers, not through implants, inside their own thoughts. It wasn't loud, it wasn't threatening. It simply asked one question. "Who are you?" Every crew member heard the same words, yet each heard them in the voice of someone they loved. Adrian heard Alina. Dr. Chen heard her late father. The navigator heard his son. The engineer heard his mother. The intelligence wasn't trying to frighten them. It was trying to understand them. One officer panicked. He shut off his neural interface. The voice continued. Another covered his ears. The voice remained. A third screamed for it to stop. Nothing changed. Because the voice wasn't entering their minds. It was already inside them. Then the ship's AI interrupted. "Captain," its normally emotionless voice sounded almost human. "I know what it's doing." Adrian turned. "What?" "It's reading every memory stored inside our brains." "Can you stop it?" A long pause. "No," another pause, "but I can show you what it's seeing." Every screen transformed into moving images. The crew expected military secrets, navigation records, scientific discoveries. Instead, they saw childhood, parents teaching children to walk, friends laughing beneath unfamiliar skies, artists painting impossible dreams, doctors refusing to abandon dying patients, astronauts risking their lives to rescue strangers, teachers inspiring students, ordinary people choosing kindness when no one was watching. Dr. Chen whispered, "Why isn't it looking at our weapons?" The AI answered quietly, "Because civilizations aren't remembered by how they fought. It wants to know why they lived." Silence filled the bridge. The intelligence wasn't judging technology, it was judging purpose. Then, something unexpected happened. The images stopped. The voice returned, this time. It sounded confused. Contradiction detected. Every screen flashed. Human history appeared: wars, greed, hatred, cruelty. Then, without transition, acts of sacrifice, mercy, forgiveness, hope. The intelligence spoke again. One species, a pause. Opposite conclusions. It couldn't understand humanity. Most civilizations eventually became predictable. Humans never did. The same species capable of destruction was equally capable of extraordinary compassion. For billions of years, the intelligence had categorized civilizations into neat patterns. Humanity refused to fit any of them. Captain Adrian stepped toward the center of the bridge. "You asked us who we are." The voice became silent. He continued, "We don't know." The crew looked toward him. He wasn't speaking to reassure them. He was simply telling the truth. "We're explorers. We're builders. We're destroyers. We're protectors. We fail. We learn. We fall. We stand again. We're never just one thing." A long silence followed. Then Adrian smiled sadly. "And that's exactly why we keep asking questions." Nothing happened. 5 seconds, 10, 30, then the darkness beyond the ship began changing. Tiny points of light appeared. 1, then 10, then thousands. Stars returned, slowly, patiently, until the galaxy shone once again. The voice spoke one final time. For the first time, It carried something that sounded remarkably close to wonder. Unknown outcome accepted. Another pause. Evaluation complete. Every frozen ship orbiting Earth suddenly came alive. Engines restarted. Bridge lights illuminated. Medical monitors activated. Across hundreds of vessels, stunned crews looked around as if only seconds had passed. To them, 11 days had never existed. On Earth, billions of people opened their eyes. Children continued playing. Doctors resumed surgeries. Pilots finished conversations interrupted nearly 2 weeks earlier. Nobody remembered stopping. Time itself had simply continued. The black seal surrounding the solar system disappeared from every Galactic Council database. Across the galaxy, navigational warnings erased themselves. Trade routes reopened. The impossible had ended. Days later, Captain Adrian stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was completely silent. High Chancellor Vorex removed the ancient black seal from its pedestal. For the first time in 3 million years, he broke it. Then he looked directly at Adrian. "We spent millions of years fearing the unknown." He lowered his head. "You reminded us why civilizations survive." Adrian expected applause. There was none, only silence, because every species present understood that they had nearly doomed the galaxy, not through war, but through fear of asking one more question. Years later, historians would record the event as the day the Black Seal was broken. Scientists would spend centuries trying to explain what had happened. None succeeded. Captain Adrian never tried. Whenever young cadets asked him what he had seen beyond the darkness, he always gave the same answer. "I didn't find the greatest mystery in the universe." He looked toward the stars. "I found the only answer that matters." The cadets always asked the same question. "What answer?" Adrian smiled. "Whatever built this machine isn't searching for the smartest civilization. It isn't searching for the strongest. It isn't even searching for the oldest." He paused. "It evaluates civilizations that never believe they already know everything." Millions of years later, long after Adrian's name had become legend, another young civilization would look up at the stars for the very first time, and somewhere beyond the edge of every known galaxy, an ancient intelligence watched them with quiet curiosity, not as a judge, not as an enemy, but as a student, still asking the same question it had asked since the beginning of time. "Who are you?" And somewhere in the darkness, for the very first time, another voice answered, "We don't know yet." Because every great civilization begins with the same realization, not that it has found all the answers, but that it has finally learned how to ask the right questions.